Yo, what's up everyone, it's Doxt. Frankly, I didn't expect the previous video to take off as much as it did, and I'm pretty surprised to see that even after all this time me being out of the Roblox trading scene, I still have a lot of support, so I honestly really do appreciate that from you all. I did want to create this follow-up video though to provide some additional context to the original video, and to say what I want to say a bit more cohesively, as in the original video it had kind of just happened, and I was just recording my raw reaction to it, and sort of just ranting, which is why the video feels really off the cuff. I hope with this video though, some people who did disagree with some of the points I made in the previous video, or didn't fully understand some portions of it, will better understand this one. So for starters, the claims I made in regards to bias against me and how this relates to RblxTrade as far as I'm concerned are still relevant. One of the most glaring examples of this, for those who don't know, there was a very old situation where my horde at the time, Neon Crazy Crown, otherwise known as NGCC, was raised from 110k to 450k off two 900k plus proofs, which I personally believed to be unfair at the time. The value changers claimed the valuation was unbiased and that they chose to value Neon Crazy Crown lower because it was massively hoarded. However, shortly after, another massively hoarded item called Ops Warrior, which had two 700k proofs, both 200k less than Neon Crazy Crown, was raised from 170k to 600k. And this item also had a massive hoard. And surprise, surprise, the guy who owned the hoard was an advisor at Rolimons, so the team had a clear bias towards him. I called this out in the old video of mine, and shortly after, instead of Rolimons valuing Neon Crazy Crown fairly, they instead decided to lower Ops Warrior by 100k and they left Neon Crazy Crown the same. I frankly believe the lower to be unjustified, and I still found it pretty ridiculous because Ops, even after the change, was still higher than Neon Crazy Crown, despite Neon Crazy Crown receiving higher. One of the most childish examples of the bias against me, and why I specifically brought up RblxTrade, is because shortly after my website launch, a disgruntled Rolimons manager removed DaVinci Copter's acronym out of spite, despite the fact that it was used thousands of times. It actually led to us receiving a lot of support at the time, and there were various memes made about it. It was later added back, however, after this manager left. However, my point does still stand. Something they also did in an attempt to discredit my horde is they marked DaVinci Copter as terrible demand, despite it not having a value. Items without a value almost never get marked with demand. Generally, unvalued items only have demand set given they were once valued. So I personally believe, and I think most can come to the conclusion based off everything I've said here, is that this was an attempt to discredit me and my horde. Even if this was some time ago, I think most can understand as to why I'm still under the belief that there is a bias against me, considering the past experiences I've had. Value changers having a bias against certain hoarders and items is not an open secret either. Even value team members such as Pedro have openly stated that hoarders such as Spartan receive more favorable treatment. Obviously, this is always going to be the case since values are opinions and opinions are subjective to bias, but I think with everything I've laid out here, it's pretty easy to come to the conclusion that there is a very strong bias against me in specific and my item. Some of the defenses I've seen people bring up is that Rolimons does not allow items above a certain hoard percentage or extremely hoarded items to receive a value or be raised. And to that, I have to say that's completely ridiculous. Because if you look at an item like Neon Crazy Crown, the item which I previously hoarded, which is now in the hands of Spartan, it's both valued and has been receiving fair treatment as of recent, due to Spartan receiving more favorable treatment overall. If you look at another item as of recent too, such as GCPQ, this item just pumped upwards of 150k as a result of the hoard. Even if you look at Enthroned, an item that's massively hoarded by a value changer, this item is pumped a lot due to the hoard. There's also the red balloon incident that got covered to death, so I'm not even going to bring up that one. But there's a ton of similar examples of these, so trying to argue that DaVinci is too hoarded so it doesn't deserve a value is just absolutely absurd. Even just taking a quick look right now for items similar to DaVinci that are valued, Beach Ball, which is 135k and is a semi-rare, is 38% hoarded amongst two hoarders and is somehow valued. A literal beach ball got valued before an invention crafted by Leonardo da Vinci himself. You cannot make this up. Something I will also say too is that in the previous video, I had some people say I was overreacting, which I'm sorry, man, but I poured upwards of 1,000+ hours into collecting the Da Vinci hoard. Maybe even more. I created a whole value website, in part due to me wanting to fight Rolimon's bias against hoarded items. And that value website spent 3 years of my life and thousands of hours. If it isn't already obvious, I am very, very passionate about Roblox trading and valuation systems. And I believe the insane hoards I've collected over the years are a testament to my love for both Roblox trading and collecting items. And something you have to understand is, if you spend 1,000+ hours working towards a goal, only to get to the finish line and be told that you can't receive a reward because you worked too hard towards that goal, that's just ridiculous. I dedicated so much time to collecting these DaVinci Copters. This is not just a one-off hoard. This is not some silly semi-rare hoard. This is a hoard that I've dedicated years of my life to because I love this item. And because of my dedication towards collecting the hoard, it's now too big a hoard, and therefore it can't be valued as a result because I'd make too much profit. Like I showed in my last video, there's literally 5 years of proofs where this item is receiving double, triple, sometimes quadruple its current wrap. Even when it was one wrap, when it got LPP down to one wrap, it was pulling 100K and still no value. Like, dude, I'm sorry, but that's just like the most ludicrous argument ever. The most ludicrous argument ever. I've literally had people over the years tell me to release copies to get DaVinci Copter to circulate more so it could potentially get valued or raised. And every single time I tell them that that's not the end goal. That is not the end goal. Frankly, if I had it my way, I just own every single copy and nobody else would own DaVinci Copter. I don't hoard items like Neon and Crazy Crown and DaVinci Copter for money, if that's not already obvious enough by this point. I do it out of my love for collecting items. And frankly, as of right now, I have no plans to ever release DaVinci Copter. And even if I decide to release it one day, that's my choice. The value changer should not be purposefully undervaluing and undermining my item just because they think I might release it one day. But for the meantime, that doesn't mean I don't want to see it do good. A big part of why I love projecting and hoarding items is because I love seeing the difference it makes on the item. I like making a mark on the community, and I like being able to contribute towards the item's valuation or long-term trajectory, and being able to tell people, I did that. That item, its value, it wouldn't be there if it was not for me. That might sound a bit silly, but that's personally just how I feel. And being outright rejected and told that all my efforts can't be acknowledged because I've done too good a job of hoarding the item I love it's just really, really hurtful to me. And I just cannot stress that enough. It just really, like, even saying this right now, it's just really hurtful. I'm really just not a fan of how Rolimon goes out of their way to dictate the economy. Rolimon should be reflecting what items are getting. They should not be trying to dictate what an item goes for because they don't believe it deserves to succeed for one reason or another. I already gave up on getting DaVinci Copter value. I gave up on that a long, long time ago. It's not getting valued. What made me so mad about it getting flagged as a projected, despite all the evidence to the contrary, is the fact that it was them once again trying to dictate what my item goes for, which clearly a projected tag is not going to dissuade anyone or stop anyone from getting DaVinci Copter. And that's part of why I found it so ridiculous. DaVinci Copter is still going to get upwards of 200 to 300K, even with the projected tag. So why even bother marking it in the first place? That's why the only conclusion I could come to in my mind in the previous video was that this was done purely out of malice. The only other example people could give as to an item similar to DaVinci Copter is Rolimon's recently marking the creativity glasses, because the hoarder is mass buying it. Something I would like to note is that creativity glasses prior to being projected was pulling 100K, and it took its wrap doubling and getting projected 68 plus above what it was pulling in order for it to get marked as a projected. DaVinci Copter was pulling 80 to 100K plus prior to me getting any copies, and it got marked projected at 77K. And may I remind you, once again, right now it is pulling 200 to 300K. Something which I made pretty clear in the last video too, but as it relates to being marked projected and not being valued and someone claiming that I manipulated the item, I never attempted to fake hype the item. I didn't make an item server like all the other dumbasses do. I didn't buy any copies for myself in order to inflate the wrap, nor did I even buy any copies for absurd prices contrary to what DaVinci actually gets. I literally just collected copies, and people overpaid for copies because they wanted DaVinci themselves. In any market outside of Roblox trading, this would be considered completely fine. It's practically the equivalent of buying a bunch of a stock because you believe in the company. I'd also like to point out that I never once tried to go out of my way to set a goal price for DaVinci Copter through collecting the copies. All I've been saying is that I just wanted 71 copies, which I achieved. When I started collecting DaVinci Copter all the way back in 2019, it was to pay tribute to an old trader who was a friend of mine, Appy8. And that's something I've stated time and time again over various years. It was never, I'm going to get X amount of DaVinci Copter and pump it to X price. I also believe I made this pretty clear in my last video, but out of the 3 copies I bought, 2 of them would have been bought as the sale price was below what DaVinci was pulling at the time. So if I didn't buy them, someone else is going to. When I got an owner to list it for 110K, I bought it instantly. And at the time, it was pulling upwards of 200K. And as I stated in the previous video, an owner was being offered 275K Robux the night prior to me buying it. And if I hadn't bought the DaVinci Copter for 222K that night, it would have sold the following morning when the buyer got online. DaVinci Copter and creativity glasses are completely different cases. So frankly, I just don't even see why they're being compared. Also, since I didn't show in the last video, these are the purchases I made for the DaVinci Copter. For some reason, these people in Rolimons were just going about and just spreading misinformation and saying that I bought them for myself. So here's evidence to prove the contrary. Like I said in the last video, I'm kind of just disappointed with the values team. And I don't really understand as to why, after all these years, there's still a strong bias against me. I know my experience with the value team isn't an isolated incident, And I consider myself pretty fortunate to be in the position where I actually have my own platform to call out these issues. However, I know for the vast majority of incidents like mine, that isn't the case. This situation honestly has reminded me as to why I fought so hard against Rolimons in the first place. And frankly, after considering it, I've decided that I will not be taking this lying down and I will be making a new Rolimons competitor. A big reason as to why I gave it up before is primarily because I had a lot of things going on in my life at the time, and I didn't have the time to dedicate towards it. And while I am a bit busy, I honestly do want to make this work. I can't promise a release date just yet, but if I were to give a prediction as to when it would likely be out, it would probably be sometime around mid to late 2026. In the meantime, join my new Discord with the link in the description, discord.gg/RblxTrading, and let's make this happen. While I won't be providing any leaks until the site's release, I'll be sure to update everyone on when it's close to release. It's going to be a lot of work, but if it means finally getting DaVinci Copter justice after all these years, then so be it. Even if Rolimon changes their tune and decides to remove DaVinci Copter's projected tag and value it, I'm still going to push forward, because I know it's only a matter of time before something like this happens again. Anyways, I wish you all a good one. Goodbye.